Hi, I'm Mike from Jarek Sports, and this is Gear Up. Today we're going to go over some of the fun things that you can do out in the snow. Winters are long without something fun to do. So a lot of people are very familiar with alpine skiing. That's where you pay your lift ticket, you head up to the mountain, and you enjoy a day out on the slopes with the lift bringing you to the top. Then there's another extreme called backcountry skiing. Backcountry skiing back in the day was just for the real hardcores, the guys that really wanted to do it and were heavily invested in doing it. The industry has now got some neat bridging technology that can allow the average skier to play a little bit in the backcountry with their friends without it costing them a whole heap load of money. So the neat thing that has happened in the industry, one, is the bindings. So if you want to go up the mountain, two things have to change, or two major things have to change. When you're skiing down, your feet are pinned to the ski, but when you're going up, you need your binding to be able to allow you to walk comfortably into the backcountry. So just by pushing that button there, I release the binding. You put this so that it doesn't re-engage, and now you're ready to walk in the backcountry. This heel raiser also allows you to climb steeper inclines efficiently. A lot of people ask, is this binding strong enough to be on the mountain all the time? Up skiing mogul runs and the stuff that the Alpine Resort will dish out? Absolutely it is. It's strong enough to handle that, yet it still works in the backcountry. So you can have one setup to do both things, which is pretty darn fun. There's a second piece of the equation. The second piece of the equation is, now you've got your feet working and moving, but what you need is you need something to give you traction. Your skis regularly are set up to glide on this nice smooth P-TEC surface. So that's alpine skiing. When you want to go up, you apply this material right here onto the bottom of the ski. It's called skin material. It kind of feels like Velcro in one direction and nice and smooth in one direction. So as you're gliding forward, it's nice and smooth, but it's like Velcro when you come back on it. The benefit to this is, obviously, you gain traction so that you can climb up the mountain, and they're easily removable on off. I've got this little demo piece here. If you can pretend that this piece right here is a whole ski, that's the tail of your ski, that's the tip of your ski. To remove it, you just simply peel it off, and you can see it's got quite an adhesive on it. Peel it off, you stick it back on itself is one of the most popular ways. You stick it in your jacket pockets or your skin pockets, keep them nice and warm for your next lap. When you get down to the bottom, you've just skied a wonderful run of powder. Again, you reattach onto your ski, slide it down smooth, and you're ready to go back up again. So with skin material and with this style of binding, you have the ability to walk in the backcountry. And that's what the bridge now is called slack country. So there's going to be people that ride on the resorts. There's going to be people that do multi-stage trips in the backcountry. Slack country means either going off the top of the peak of that mountain, any one of your resorts. If you hike for 15 minutes, you get better turns. You're further out of the way of traffic, and you get a lot better turns. That's slack country. A lot of times people will go in the evenings places, a place that you know very well, skin up to the top, and you can make some runs with headlamps, all that kind of stuff. So it can turn into an evening type thing. So just another thing to do out there on those long winter days. The next thing up to bat that I want to show you is, say that you've already got a set of alpine bindings and you're like, man, I love the idea of that. I can't afford a whole backcountry setup, but I'd like to get into the backcountry and play a little bit. This piece right here is called an alpine trekker. Alpine trekkers are designed to mount to your boot like so. So nice and quick. If I do it properly, it's nice and quick. So they're designed to mount to your boot, and then this piece snaps into a regular downhill binding. Just goes in, steps into the binding. What it now allows is, again, that walk mode to be utilized. So again, with a binding like this mounted to your skis, or an alpine trekker mounted into your bindings, you can get out, walk up to the top of a mountain, take your skins off, and enjoy fresh tracks on the way down. It's just another way to get out there in the winter. Thanks for watching. Hi, I'm Mike Stephen from Jerick Sports, and this is Gear Up. Today we're going to go over a flat repair. Whether you ride a road bike or a mountain bike, chances are eventually you're going to get a flat tire out there. You've got two options. One, repair it yourself out there, or two, phone someone on a cell phone. It's really quite easy to repair it yourself if you know how. Today we're going to go over that. So, two things usually cause flats. One is a puncture. That's picked up from road debris somewhere out there on the road. The second type is called a pinch flat. Pinch flats occur when your tire pressure is too low and you impact a cattle guard, a curb, anything like that, and what happens is the tube gets pinched between the rim and whatever hard object you hit, and it creates a snake bite type hole in the tube. Those are the two most common. Either way, you need to get a new tube in this bike to get it rolling again. So right now we're sitting flat. The first thing you do on a road bike, for example, is release the brake. That opens up the caliper to make it slide out easily. The second thing you're going to do is shift it down into the smallest cog here. You don't have to do that, but it allows you to put the wheel on much easier. Because you know what gear the derailleur is in, you can feed it on and the wheel will go on much smoother. Once you've got those things done, all you do is you take off the quick release. The quick releases are opened by hand, they're tool free. You just open up your quick release and the wheel will drop out from the bike. When setting down the bike, try to be careful of the derailleur. That's your main shifting mechanism on the back of the bike, and if you bump that, you're not going to have the greatest shifting in the world. Next thing up to bat, you're going to pull off the cover, the retainment ring. So now you're sitting at a flat tire. The first tool you're going to use is a set of tire levers. Tire levers are designed to remove the tire off the rim. They hook in under what's called the tire bead, and you can pry it off the rim. When you're taking it off, you don't have to be very careful not to damage the tube, simply because the tube is already damaged. So you peel back the tire and put the tire lever in. I find it easiest to work in a knife-like motion and slide it off like so. You only have to pull off one side of the tire to do a tube repair. So at this point, you can go back to your valve stem and remove the tube from underneath the tire. So grabbing the tube out, pulling it all the way along, back up to the valve stem and pull it out. Next up, you're going to grab your fresh tube. And what I like to do with fresh tube is I like to put just enough air into the tube so that you can see the shape of it. I just do that with my mouth. Very similar to blowing up a balloon. Then seal it back up. So next, you want to find out what caused the puncture. There's no sense in replacing the tube if there's still a piece of debris in the tire. So check thoroughly the inside of the tire to make sure that there's nothing poking through that'll cause the tire to flat out in 2 kilometers again as you get rolling. The other thing that you can do is you can pump up your tube that's damaged. When you pump that guy up, you can see whether it's a single hole, which is usually road debris, or a double hole, or snake bite, which is caused from that pinch flat. So once you've determined that you've got whatever caused the flat out of there, you can go ahead and install your new tube. To install your new tube, you start at the valve stem hole, pushing the tube through, sliding it all the way around. Then you seat the tube in carefully. The reason why you want to seat the tube in here is because when you're prying it back on with your tire levers, you do not want to pinch flat the tube between the tire lever and your rim, because you can actually do that. So you want to be much more careful. And if you can put it on completely by hand, reinstall the rim bead completely by hand. I always start at the valve stem and I work my way around both sides, making sure to keep the tube up and inside, not coming out like that. Because if you push that hard up against the rim, you will flat. So I usually work it until I'm about in that zone. If you're not strong enough to just do it with your hand, at this point, you can put the tire lever up underneath the rim bead and making sure that you're not pinching the tube, pry up and hold it. Then it'll usually pop into place. Pull your valve stem down, reattach your locking nut. At this point, you're ready to put air back in. I'm going to show you a neat innovation out there in the bike world, and it's using CO2 to inflate. A lot of people are freaked out about these CO2 systems because they think they're going to hiss at them, scare them, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to show you how simple they are. Take your CO2 cylinder, insert it into a proper CO2 pump. You're going to feel when the pin faces up against the cylinder. That's the pin that's going to puncture the cylinder. In one movement, I'm going to pierce the cylinder, and the cylinder is now pierced, and it's ready to inflate the tire. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, put it onto the valve stem, then you operate this just as you would a tap. As I back it out, air begins to flow. You can hear those pops. That's the rim bead seating in. You want to be careful as you're doing that process. The rim is properly beading, or the bead is properly beading into the rim. If it does not, your tube can come out past it and pop. But at this point in time, we've changed successfully. We have air pressure, and the difference of this CO2 pump is exactly what you saw. Usually, you'd be sitting there pumping for 2 to 3 minutes. With the CO2 cylinder, it inflates in a couple of seconds. And that's especially nice when you're out mountain biking and there's mosquitoes out, or it's raining, or you're in a race. There's lots of reasons for that fast change to be nice. As I said, we put it in the lowest cog on our gear shifter. That way I put the chain onto it and then just slide everything down and onto the bike. At that point, you want to secure your quick release, snugging it up. The secret to quick release pressure is that it's a cam. When you close it over, you should have medium pressure at the midway of the stroke of the cam. So as I hit midway, I should have medium pressure, and you have to push it over hard enough to leave a little dent in your hand. Remember to close back up your brake. Give the wheel a spin. At this point, the brakes aren't centered properly. With a road bike, it's simply grabbing a hold and making sure that it's centered. It's quite easy. So hopefully this demystifies a little bit about changing a tire out on the road or out on the trail and makes you enjoy biking that much more. Thanks for watching. Hi, Mike from Jarek Sports here, and it's time to gear up. Today we're going to talk about helmets. A lot of times people walk into a bike shop, they look at the huge wall of helmets, and they get a little confused. They look a lot the same, and there's price ranges from low to high. People want to know what they're getting for their money, whether they're getting a safer helmet, what the deal is. I'm going to try to help you get through a little bit of that here today. As a general rule with helmets, if you have standard technology in them, you're going to have your low-end helmet up to your high-end helmet. Your low-end helmet is going to have less breathability. is going to be not quite as comfortable probably, but will offer roughly the same safety protection. What I really want to get at in this one is that there are a few technologies out there that can actually help you. So first off, your standard mountain bike helmets. With those guys, they start at low end, they move to high end. As a general rule within those, as you move up in them, they get more airflow put into them. Like this helmet has a lot more airflow put into it. The reason why that's nice is on a hot day, you get a ton of airflow through the helmet and it keeps you cool. Does it help any more with safety? No, it doesn't. The reason why you pay more for this helmet is to make it just as structurally sound, but have more airflow move through the helmet. You're going to get a little bit of comfort as you move up in the price of helmet, but as a general rule, again, helmets are pretty darn comfortable, even at the low end. The thing that I really want to talk about is things that will make you safer out there on the trails or out on the road. One of the things that they've realized in helmets is that the protection of a helmet doesn't necessarily just come from the strong shell that's around your head with foam underneath it. What they're finding is that most concussions are actually caused by your brain rotating in your skull. So it's not due to the blunt force trauma that comes from out here, it's more due to your brain rotating in your skull. Some guys have come up with a new technology, and that new technology is called MIPS. MIPS is a technology that's built into the helmet that allows the helmet to rotate on impact. If the helmet rotates, it allows for your head or your brainstem not to rotate. So it cushions that force. So that is real technology that will help you in a big crash, in a crash that, say, you may get a concussion from. The other thing out there in the industry is carbon fiber. A lot of people think that carbon fiber is strictly a weight savings tool, makes it look cool, all that kind of stuff. But to tell you the honest truth, carbon fiber dissipates an impact far greater than plastic in your least expensive helmet, fiberglass in your mid-class helmets. Carbon fiber dissipates the most impact. I saw a really neat study done by a chemist, and what he did is he took a ball of plastic, a ball of fiberglass, and a ball of carbon fiber. He dropped them all from the same height to see how high they would bounce. In essence, to see how much they would absorb. The plastic ball, he dropped from chest height, it came up to about his waist. The fiberglass ball, he dropped, it came up to about knee height. The carbon fiber ball he dropped, it pretty much died on the ground. What that means to you wearing the helmet is that the force that comes into the helmet is dissipated through the shell versus coming through to you and reacting or bouncing. So that's a few things about helmet safety that hopefully help you make your decision. Thanks again. Hi, I'm Mike Stephen from Jarek Sports, and this is Gear Up. Today we're going to demystify wheel sizes in bikes. There's several different wheel sizes now in bikes that don't really have a reference to the size of the rider. Everybody knows that frames are sized to the rider, meaning a small person is going to ride a small bike. A larger person is going to ride a larger bike frame. Wheel sizes is more about riding preference. There's several different sizes out there. First off, I'm just going to explain that kids' wheel sizes determine the size of the bike. So if it's a 20-inch wheel like this guy right here, that's the size of the bike. There is no frame reference. It's a 20-inch wheel. Whereas when you get into adult sizes, we're going to talk about the frames first to determine what the size of the rider should be riding. Then we're going to talk about wheel size so that they can determine the type of ride that they want. So first off, we've got these guys right here. So this is a road bike wheel. Very narrow, very fast. Not very much rubber on the road, so it's going to be extremely quick moving. It's what's called a 700C wheel. 700C wheels has been out since the dawn of biking. So 700C wheels are your road bike wheel size. Next up to bat, we've got the new 29er that started to change the game. The funny thing about the 29er is the 29er is actually the same rim diameter as that one that I just showed you, the 700C. So 700C and 29er are actually the same rim diameter. You could actually put this tire on that skinny little rim back there, and it would actually run as long as you had the clearance in the bicycle. Now, there's been another new one that's kind of come into the industry. And that's fat bikes. A lot of people ask, what the heck are these for? These are actually to ride in snow. They're designed quite wide so that you get a little bit more traction and grip because you're riding on snow and ice. It's not going to make you float in the deep powder, but it is going to make riding a bike possible on snowshoe trails, cross-country trails, all that kind of stuff. You run very low air pressure in these guys so that you get a ton of grip. Whether you're climbing or cornering, these things are molding over the terrain and giving you tons of traction. Now, the industry released a brand new thing about 2 years ago, and that's called plus-sized bikes. Both of these bikes in front of me here are both plus. This is a junior plus, this is an adult plus. So, it's somewhere in the middle between all of these wheel sizes. The plus is slightly smaller than a 29er in rim size, but because the tire is so tall, it actually acts pretty close to a 29er in terms of its grip and traction, or in terms of its actual rubber circumference. The big thing about this new plus category is it gives riders a tremendous amount of confidence. You're running slightly lower air pressure, so as you're rolling over bumps in the terrain, the tire is molding over those bumps. That's giving you amazing traction. You're not being kicked back from each little bump because your tire pressure is much lower because you have a taller tire. The wider tire gives you a ton of cornering ability so that when you go into a corner, you have a bigger contact patch gripping the ground and giving you, like I say, a ton of confidence in those corners. Feels like you're glued down. My daughter, who's, when she did this, was 10 years old. She rode a 29er and she climbed a hill that she could never climb before. The reason why is that the contact patch on the 29er was bigger than the traditional 26-inch wheel size. Now with the plus, it's taking it to the next level of handling. So people are asking, what do we do with this new plus wheel size? Who's it for? Well, for a junior rider, it's amazing because the cushioning and the suspension that this will offer in the actual tire is amazing for a junior rider. Junior forks have never been great. They don't work incredibly well. Whereas air pressure, you can dial that into the rider's weight and you can get an inch of suspension that'll help your kid over top of all the bumpy rocks and help them not to get knocked off trail. So for junior riders, I think this plus category is absolutely going to be amazing. For adult riders, man, it's the same thing. Whether you're a beginner rider or whether you're an expert rider, you're going to find that these plus tires will not let you down in the corners and they'll pedal incredibly well uphill still. People ask about weight. Rotational weight on wheels is a big thing in the mountain bike world. You know what? The tire technology and the rim technology has gotten really good. So they're keeping the weight down so these things still pedal quite quick. Well, you still get the benefit of extra cornering ability, extra climbing ability, and just sheer confidence going over any terrain that you want to try to tackle.